What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Drinkin Vinyl, the show where we crack open a cold beer, throw a classic album on the turntable, and talk about why these records still matter decades after they were released. I'm your host, Chris, and today we're diving into one of the greatest heavy metal albums ever made. You know it, Iron Maiden's The Number of the Beast. Now, this isn't just another great metal record. This is one of those albums that changed the direction of heavy metal. It's the record that took Iron Maiden from being a respected band in the new wave of British heavy metal to becoming one of the biggest metal acts on the planet. So grab your favorite drink. Mine, as always, is a nice cold Busch Light. Let's drop the needle and see if The Number of the Beast deserves its legendary reputation. It's hard to imagine now, but when Iron Maiden started working on this album, they had a huge question hanging over their band. The original singer, Paul Di'Anno, was gone. Replacing a frontman is risky enough, but when replacing one when you're already building momentum can make or break a band. Then along came Bruce Dickinson. He was formerly of Samson. Instead of trying to sound like the previous singer, Bruce immediately brought his own style. He had incredible range, a theatrical voice, and enough confidence to command the stage from the second he walked onto it. Looking back now, it almost feels inevitable that he become the voice of Iron Maiden. But at the time, nobody knew how fans would react. Fortunately, it worked out pretty well. I'd say becoming one of the biggest heavy metal bands in history counts as a successful audition. Got another Busch Light tonight. No, it isn't imported. No, it isn't aged in bourbon barrels. Nope, nobody's describing hints of oak, chocolate, or citrus. It's cold. It tastes like beer. And after mowing the yard or listening to an entire side of Iron Maiden, it definitely gets the job done. As I always say, sometimes simple is all you need. One thing I love about vinyl is that it forces you to listen. I've said this many times. You're not skipping songs. You're not checking notifications every 30 seconds. You're committing to the experience. And this album rewards that commitment. There's energy from the very beginning. The guitars have that unmistakable Maiden gallop. Steve Harris's bass is everywhere without ever getting in the way. Clive Burr's drums push everything forward, and Bruce sounds like he was born to sing these songs. Even if you've heard these tracks 100 times, the album still feels exciting. I'm not going to lie, I just bought this album because it wasn't part of my collection. There are a lot of heavy bands. There are lots of fast bands. But Iron Maiden's carved out their own lane. Their songs aren't just about being loud. They're about stories, history, literature, fantasy, movies, religion, war, life. Got parched, death. You'll hear melodies that get stuck in your head while the band is playing at full speed. Instead of relying on one guitarist, you got harmonized leads that almost sound orchestral. That's part of what keeps this album fresh. Every time you listen, you notice something different. Oh no, I'm almost out of beer. One thing I appreciate is how balanced the record feels. There are fast songs, there are slower songs, there are epic songs, there are catchy songs. Nothing feels like filler. Every track contributes something different to the overall experience of this album. That's surprisingly rare. Even a lot of classic albums have one or two songs where you're waiting for the next track. Not on this one. I don't get that feeling here. It's it's pure. Of course, we can't talk about this album without mentioning the controversy. Excuse me. The title, the artwork. I mean, come on, look at this artwork. The imagery of it all. Back in the early 80s, plenty of people looked at this album and immediately assumed the band was promoting something sinister. Albums were criticized. Parents were worried. People who probably never listened to the record decided they already knew what it was about. Iron Maiden has said many times that they're storytellers. They're creating characters with the songs. They're creating drama. That's part of heavy metal. Sometimes the artwork is scary. Sometimes the lyrics are dark. That doesn't automatically mean the band believes every story they're telling. Honestly, if anything, the controversy probably helped make the album even bigger. Nothing sells records quite like people telling teenagers not to buy them. You know, it looked satanic, you wanted to rush out and get it. Instead of ranking every song, I want to talk about the moments. Those moments that make you grin every single time. The opening guitar harmonies. Bruce absolutely soaring over the band. Steve Harris making the bass sound like a lead instrument. Dave Murray and Adrian Smith trading guitar lines and solos like they've been reading each other's minds for years. And the transitions. Maiden is incredible at building tension before unleashing a huge chorus or guitar solo. That's something I think that gets overlooked a lot. Now we're going to go into the debates. Since this is Drinkin Vinyl, we have to talk about sides. Side one punches you in the face. It's energetic, it's immediate, it grabs your attention. Then side two feels slightly more cinematic. There's more drama, more atmosphere, more payoff. I've always loved albums that feel like two different experiences, depending on which side you're listening to. This is definitely one of them. That's delicious. The production deserves a lot of credit. Sometimes early 80s metal albums sound very thin. Not this one. Everything has room to breathe. The guitars sound huge without drowning everything else out. The bass is powerful. The drums have punch. They kick you in the face. Bruce sits perfectly on top of everything. And on vinyl, of course, it's even better. There's warmth here that's hard to describe until you hear it yourself. Well, imagine hearing this in 1982. You walk into a record store, you see that cover, you take a chance on it. Then you get home and hear this. No wonder Iron Maiden exploded. This album is accessible enough for someone new to metal, but technical enough to keep longtime fans coming back. That's a difficult balance in music. It really is. It's hard to pick one thing that impresses me the most. It's If I had to pick one thing that impresses me most, it's Bruce Dickinson's confidence. This was his first Iron Maiden album. No pressure, right? Except replacing an established singer in Paul Di'Anno. Except recording one of the biggest metal albums ever. Except creating songs people would still sing 40 years later. I'd say he handled it okay. Now, does the album hold up in 2026? Absolutely. Some albums become classics because of nostalgia. Others become classics because they're genuinely timeless. This is the second category. The musicianship still sounds impressive. The songwriting still works. The melodies are memorable. The performances are outstanding. Every member gives their best performance on this album. If somebody asked me where to start with Iron Maiden, this would probably be my recommendation. So, what are we going to do? Does the number of the beast belong in every rock fan's collection? Yeah, I think so. Even if heavy metal isn't your favorite genre, this is one of those records that's impossible to ignore. It's influential, it's exciting, it's incredibly well played. And most importantly, got an itch, it's very fun to listen to. For me, that's what great records are supposed to be. I'm giving this album 10 out of 10 pints. Got a pint right here. It's an absolute essential. One thing I love about doing this show is revisiting albums I already know. Sometimes you discover that a record isn't quite as good as you remembered. I got a couple of those coming up in later episodes. Other times you remember exactly why it became a classic. That's what happened here. Every time I spin this album, I hear another detail, another guitar harmony, another bass line, another vocal moment. That's the sign of an album built to last. Well, that's going to do it for episode 5 of Drinkin Vinyl. Now I want to hear from you. Let me know in the comments down below. What's your favorite track on The Number of the Beast? Was this your first Iron Maiden album? It was for me. I bought it on cassette so many years ago, and I've had it ever since. Do you think this is their best album, or do you have another favorite? Comments. Let me know down in the comments, and I read every one of them. I hope you enjoyed hanging out today. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and go ahead, share this episode with another music fan. There are plenty more classic records waiting on the shelf, and we got a lot more beers to drink while we spin them. Until next time, I'm Chris. This has been Drinkin Vinyl, and remember, life's too short to leave great records sitting on the shelf. Cheers.